Shall we just call it off today?
What are you talking about? We've come all this way, so just give up. Pete was reluctant to take his checkup today. While I persuaded him, I wondered if he was nervous about a new doctor. As we were discussing, Pete's name was called, and I helped him to the examination room.
Rachel, wait outside for me.
Are you sure?
Just rest while I'm being examined.
With that, I was pushed out of the examination room. I waited in the waiting room, and soon a nurse came and brought Pete back.
Mrs. Perry, please come this way.
Then, for some reason, only I was called by the nurse to a separate room. Well, what's going on? I asked the doctor hesitantly in the separate room.
Go to the police immediately.
What?
If you don't.
I was shocked by the words he uttered. And so, I quickly started moving to act. I am Rachel Perry, a 28-year-old housewife. I have a husband, Pete, and an 8-year-old daughter, Emily. However, Emily and I are not related by blood. This is my first marriage, but Pete is divorced, and Emily is his child from his previous marriage.
Are you sure it's okay? After all, I have a child and I myself.
Pete hesitated. Don't worry about it. I replied with a smile. Pete is blind. He used to see, but apparently he lost his sight protecting his ex-wife during an accident. I met him through work. I draw webcomics, and one day I received a request, could you create something based on this story? It was a novel written by Pete.
I want everyone to know that there are things you can still do, even if you can't see. Besides, I have to work and raise Emily.
The story, filled with his emotions, detailed his life after becoming blind. Moved by his words, I was more than happy to adapt it into a comic.
The author of the novel would really like to meet you.
I received a message from the editor, and we arranged to meet at a cafe. With the help of his daughter Emily, Pete arrived. He smiled gently, a calm presence, and I was quickly drawn to him. I want to be your eyes to help you.
I've wanted to be with you too. Your voice is so comforting.
He told me he fell in love with my voice, and that's how we started dating. Hey, Emily, would you be okay with me being your mom?
Yes.
With Emily's consent, we decided to get married. My parents were concerned about Pete being blind and having a child from a previous marriage.
But if you've decided, we'll support you.
That's right. But remember, you can always rely on us.
In the end, they supported me. They reassured me that they'd always be there to help, allowing me to enter marriage with peace of mind. Emily, dinner's ready.
Thank you very much.
Emily replies politely to me. We've been living together since we started dating, but she hasn't opened up to me yet. Well, it can't be helped. It's not easy to instantly accept a woman, once a stranger, as a mother. I hope she'll come to accept me in time.
Well,
That smells good.
Just as Emily was about to speak, Pete walked in, guided by the wall. Startled, she flinched. Pete, are you okay? The table is this way. I was concerned about Emily, but I needed to assist Pete.
I'm off.
In that moment, Emily had left for elementary school. By the time I turned around, she was gone, and I could only hear the door closing. Sighing, I remained thoughtful.
Something wrong?
Sorry, I was just thinking about how hard it's been to get closer to Emily. At my words, Pete looked a bit troubled. Seeing that, I quickly tried to explain myself. I explained that I understood it wouldn't be an immediate acceptance and believed that it would surely be resolved over time.
Thanks for caring. Maybe Emily is still wary of the idea of a mother.
Julie Kelly, the ex-wife and the real mother of Emily. When she found out Pete was blind, she left him and their daughter behind. Emily was abandoned by her real mother. Emily might be harboring such thoughts and is likely wary of me as I try to become her new mother. That's what Pete suspects.
Sorry, but I ask for your patience over time.
Of course, that's my intention. At Pete's words, I smile, even though I know he can't see it.
Thank you.
Pete said with a smile in return. Shall we have breakfast? Let's eat well and get ready for work.
Sounds good.
We both work from home, but we have separate offices. This way, we keep to our own schedules.
Rachel, are you going to be cooped up in your room all day?
Yeah, I plan to. I'll only come out for meals.
Got it, just don't overdo it.
At his words, I nodded with a smile and headed to my office. I wonder what kind of work Pete is doing. We make it a point not to interfere with each other during work hours. Therefore, I don't know what Pete does during his work time. He used to write books using Braille, but I haven't heard anything about that lately. Well, my earnings are enough for us to live on, so it's not a problem. There must be struggles I can't even imagine. I think it's enough just to watch over him. With a thought, I decided to focus on my work. A few days later, I'm driving with Pete to a hospital that takes several hours to reach.
Rachel, I know you're busy, but thank you.
Don't worry about it. I just want to help you. Honestly, it would be better to go to a major hospital closer to home. However, Pete insists on this particular hospital.
There's a childhood friend of mine working here as a doctor who knows my situation well.
Pete reconnected with his childhood friend during an accident when he was brought to this hospital. Since then, she's been very supportive, even after his ex-wife Julie left him and their daughter behind.
That's why I've decided she should be the one to see me.
The doctor is a woman?
Yes.
I had always assumed this childhood friend was a man. Finding out she was a woman made me feel a bit uneasy. Even though it's just a medical consultation and their relationship is strictly doctor-patient. The fact that he goes out of his way to see a female childhood friend for hours bothers me. What kind of person is this childhood friend?
She's kind. She gets along well with her husband.
Knowing she was married put me at ease. Married people are less likely to do anything inappropriate. We then entered the hospital together.
Is this the first time we meet Mrs. Perry? I'm Anna West, Pete's attending doctor.
Anna introduced herself with a gentle smile. She was very beautiful and definitely seemed kind.
Being a wife can be tough, and adjusting to a new lifestyle can be tiring. I'm here to listen if you ever need to talk.
I felt ashamed for almost being jealous. What a reliable, kind person. I had such an impression of her.
Shall we exchange contact information?
When Anna suggested it, I happily agreed. However, that might have been a mistake. Oh, a message from Anna. That night, a message from her appeared on my phone.
Are you and Pete really doing okay? Pete has it tough. You need to be strong.
What is this? The content was puzzling. Not something I expected from the doctor I met earlier in the day. I consulted Pete without thinking.
She's always been overly protective, trying to be a big sister to me. That's probably why she sent such a message.
According to Pete, she has always acted like Pete is my responsibility. She was very worried when he remarried, especially because of Julie's situation. That might explain why she was a bit cold to me.
If she sees I'm living happily, she'll probably be reassured.
Then I better make sure we are happy, I said with a laugh.
That's right.
Pete laughed along. Emily watched us, seemingly wanting to say something. Emily, is something wrong?
Nothing.
When I asked Emily, she glanced briefly at Pete and shook her head.
I'm going to bed early.
She then went to her room.
I wish Emily would smile a bit more.
I overheard Pete mutter. I turned to him, and Peter turned his head. Seeing him like this, I felt a slight discomfort. Can you tell Emily's expression?
Yo, we're family after all. I can tell by the sound of her voice.
Pete said, smiling. It makes sense. After 8 years together, he might indeed sense her mood from her voice alone. But why could he respond to me turning around silently? Just a coincidence?
Something wrong, Rachel?
No, it's nothing. Pete asked with concern, possibly sensing my distress or wondering why I had fallen silent. To him, I shook my head. I'm probably just overthinking it. I convinced myself of that.
Well, Rachel?
On a rare day off, surprisingly, Emily initiated a conversation. Surprised, I managed to keep a smile on my face so she wouldn't notice. What's up?
This. When Dad isn't around.
She handed me a piece of paper. I took the paper from her.
Please make sure Dad doesn't see this.
She left hurriedly. I heard the front door close, so she must have gone out. Probably to a friend's house, as she mentioned earlier. What's this? On it was a certain number.
Rachel, has Emily already left?
As I pondered the meaning of the number, Pete called out to me. I quickly hid the paper in my pocket. Yes, she's already gone.
It seemed a bit hurried.
Isn't that more childlike? I hope she can act that way in front of me someday.
That would be good.
Pete chuckled at my words. He didn't seem to notice what I had hidden. What's up with you, Pete? Aren't you off today? Typically, Pete rests until nearly noon on his days off. I hadn't expected him to be up this early.
I was thinking, if it's not too much for you, maybe we could go for a walk together.
Pete invited me with a gentle smile. That sounds nice. I want to feel refreshed.
You're such a hard worker, Rachel. Just don't overdo it.
Pete probably thinks I'm busy with work. But it's not work that makes me tired. It's the messages from Anna that are tiring me out.
Don't bother Pete.
Since then, her messages have kept coming. It's okay. We're supporting each other. At first, I replied, but as the messages became daily, I've started to ignore them. It's been a while since we went for a walk, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
During the walk, I memorized the number Emily had given me and disposed of the paper, hoping I wouldn't need to use that number. A few days later, it was time for Pete's regular checkup, and I drove him to the usual hospital hours away.
Isn't off today.
Yes, she's caught that contagious disease that's going around.
The difference this time was that Anna was off. However, there were other competent doctors, so we saw one of them instead. It was good that our long trip wasn't wasted. I thought so, but Pete seemed to feel differently.
If she's not here, maybe we should call it a day.
What? Pete suddenly started talking, and I turned around without thinking. What are you talking about? It's just a routine checkup. We have to go through with it. Besides, we've come all this way. Let's make the most of it. Hearing that, Pete made a face of displeasure. I soothed him and made him sit down in the waiting room chair.
Can't we just skip it today?
What are you saying? We're already here. Just give up. He was particularly reluctant about the checkup today. While I persuaded him, I wondered if he was nervous about a new doctor. Then Pete's name was called, and I helped him as we headed to the examination room.
Rachel, wait outside for me.
Are you sure?
Just take a rest while I'm getting examined.
With that, I was pushed out of the examination room. As I waited in the waiting room, Pete soon returned with a nurse.
Mrs. Perry, this way, please.
For some reason, I was the only one called by the nurse and was taken to another room. Well, is there something wrong? In the separate room, I cautiously asked the doctor.
Go to the police right now.
What?
If you don't, you'll end up being used and then discarded.
I was stunned by the words he uttered. And to act immediately, I started moving. After a while, Pete contacted me on my phone.
Rachel, where on earth did you go?
Me? I'm at the police station now with Emily and Julie. Pete, taken aback by my words, remained silent for a moment.
Why?
He murmured in a faint voice. Dr. Watson told me about your truth. At that time, the person who told me the truth was a Dr. Marcus Watson.
Pete can see.
What are you saying?
Moreover, he's not the kind-hearted person you think he is.
Dr. Watson, who had called me in, told me this. His words honestly left me bewildered.
I understand it's hard to believe, but haven't you ever had any suspicions yourself?
As he said this, what came to my mind was Pete's recent behavior. He reacted immediately to my actions, even though he was supposed to be blind. He moves around our familiar home without any help and gets dressed perfectly. What bothers me the most is his relationship with Emily. Emily is always conscious of his gaze, and whenever I talk to her, Pete quickly intervenes. It's as if he's monitoring her movements. There are indeed some worrying signs.
He's showing you a false persona. He's conspiring with Dr. West to deceive you.
Indeed, if Pete's blindness were a lie, it would be odd for Anna not to notice. Perhaps she's been helping him because they're childhood friends?
Anna and Pete are having an affair.
What? It seems Anna was helping Pete not just because they are acquaintances, but because they are in a relationship. The more I heard, the more I learned that their affair began around the time of Julie, and she had realized it. Since Julie was a nurse, she had consulted more closely with Dr. Watson and others about it.
Just as Julie was about to confront them, I heard that Julie and Pete were in an accident.
Those words gave me an awful feeling. I hate to think it, but
I believe Pete was involved in causing that accident.
Dr. Watson told me firmly.
Afterward, she went back to her hometown, and we've lost contact. I hear that Emily was taken in by Pete.
Yes, she is actually living with me now.
It seems likely that Pete took in Emily to assess child support and to gauge how much truth she knows.
He probably came to check on me while I was talking to you because of that situation. Emily must have sensed it too, which is why she kept her distance from me and tried to escape from Pete. Honestly, I can't believe it, but there are parts that I do understand.
I wish we could get in touch with his ex-wife, but it seems she's changed her contact information.
His words reminded me of a number Emily had given me. Actually, Emily gave me a certain phone number, and so I decided to call that number to find out the truth. As I expected, it was Julie who answered the phone. When I told Pete this, he fell silent. Ignoring Pete, I continued the conversation. It seems she was under surveillance from your parents. Still, she wanted to keep in touch with her daughter, so she gave Emily a contact number for a phone you guys didn't know about. Emily herself doesn't have a smartphone, and since Pete is watching the landline, she couldn't use it. I was the only one she could likely contact. That's why Emily gave me the phone number. Being a nurse, she's very observant. She found a time when your parents' surveillance was lax and escaped.
What are you doing?
Pete's voice was irritated like I had never heard before. It seems his true nature had been revealed. I immediately contacted Emily's school, and now we are all at the police station. A mother and daughter are having an emotional reunion right in front of me. Seeing them together almost made me cry.
Stop meddling.
What's meddling about this? I did what any decent person would do.
Thank you so much.
Both Julie and Emily told me this, crying. What I felt then was intense anger. Anger at the selfish reasons for separating a mother and daughter, at the deceit committed for personal gain. And the novel that had moved me was all based on lies. Knowing this fact, I was so filled with anger and shock that I went numb. She has evidence that your parents confined her, and if we have Dr. Marcus Watson's medical report, we can prove that the disability benefits you were receiving because you are blind are fraudulent.
Why would you do that? Weren't you enjoying our life together?
Indeed, I had felt happiness in our life together. Above all, I married Pete because I loved him. Yes, and you were laughing at me, weren't you? With that, Pete fell silent again. Before going to the police station, I stopped by our house and peeked into his office. I thought maybe I would find evidence of infidelity. What I found was, you were not working at all and were just teaming up with Anna to make a fool out of me.
That's...
The message described me as obtuse and naive, easy to manipulate.
Why did you choose such a woman?
For the money.
I was chosen because as a webcomic artist, I was making good money. You thought it was simple to move me with your novels. I was really underestimated, wasn't I?
It can't be helped.
Pete said. What can't be helped? I pondered this. He started talking without being asked.
I really didn't want to do this, but I desperately needed the money. Besides, the only person I truly love is Rachel.
Do you think I can believe that? You even plan to get rid of me?
What? You sir that too?
Yes, besides the messages with Anna, he had made arrangements to eliminate me. Pete, who had been living a luxurious life without working by taking alimony from his ex-wife. He couldn't forget such a lifestyle and was looking for a new source of income. It was me. As a webcomic artist with earnings and working from home, it was easy for Pete to keep an eye on me. Make it look like an accident once you got bored of me. Is it right?
That was just a joke. I wasn't serious.
It didn't seem like a joke to me. That's why we all rushed to the police. I went to the police fearing for my life and to expose the fraud by Pete and Anna. Emily was there to be protected from Pete, and Julie was filing a complaint for the defamation spread by her previous confinement and lies. It's over for you. The police are on their way to your place now.
Damn it.
Pete muttered in panic at those words.
It's no use running away.
I heard Dr. Watson's voice, indicating Pete had failed in his attempt to flee. It looks like it's over. I hung up the phone after hearing the police's voices. The police were likely heading to Anna's place, who was recuperating at home, and to his parents' place as well. It's all right now, I assured Emily.
Thank you for letting me see my mom.
She replied with a beaming smile. Seeing her smile for the first time made me very happy. Later, I heard that Emily and her mom really went back to Julie's parents' home. Her parents' home is a plane ride away, making it difficult for Pete to reach them. Leave that man to me. I'll make sure he faces the consequences. I reassured them with those words, and it seemed to give them some peace of mind. Emily and her mom returned home with smiles. Meanwhile, Pete ended up in the care of the police. The plan to harm me had not been executed yet, leading to insufficient evidence. However, the matter of the benefits and Julie's situation was judged as malicious. Pete was given a prison sentence.
Is that so? That's good to hear.
Today, I met with Dr. Watson to report about Pete. When I reported it, he smiled in relief. What about Dr. West?
She's been charged for writing false medical reports.
Dr. Watson explained Dr. Anna West's current situation. She seems to have been stripped of her medical license because of this incident. She's been ousted from the hospital, of course.
Also, it was discovered that she had inappropriate relations with multiple patients and was taking supplies home without permission. So the hospital is filing various claims against her.
Furthermore, her husband has been informed of everything, and she was divorced without question. Well, she brought it upon herself.
Rachel, you were divorced as well, weren't you?
Yes, of course. My divorce from Pete was successfully finalized. A lawyer mediated between us, and I blocked all contact with him. Thanks to that, I was able to divorce him without any issues.
I'm really glad we could at least help you.
He said that and smiled. It seems he had been regretting not being able to help Julie before. Just as he was grappling with those feelings, he saw me with Pete. Because of that, he had been working behind the scenes, determined to help me this time.
There was no evidence that Anna West and Pete were conspiring together. So I was waiting for the right moment to expose the truth about his eyes.
To see through Pete's lies, I had to examine him first. However, Anna always took care of Pete herself and never let other doctors do it. So, he was waiting for the right opportunity, and finally, it came.
No matter how good his acting was, he couldn't deceive a doctor's eyes.
He said, smiling as if he had accomplished a great feat. I'm really grateful. If you hadn't told me the truth that day, I might not be in this world right now. I said, expressing my heartfelt thanks.
Thank you for trusting me.
Dr. Watson smiled. Some time had passed. I received a message from Anna on my smartphone. I forgot to block her. Dozens of calls and messages.
My life is a complete mess because of you.
That's what the message said. You tried to take someone's life first. You have no right to complain. Saying that, I didn't reply and just blocked the number. Currently, I'm back at my parents' house. They probably don't know where that is, so I should be safe here for a while.
Rachel, it's almost time for dinner. How's your work going?
Thanks, Mom. I just reached a good stopping point. I smiled and headed to join my mom. Afterward, a piece of news became the talk of the town. It was about the famous webcomic author arrested for fraud. My webcomic had become widespread and was scheduled to be adapted into a TV program soon. However, it was discovered that the entire content was fabricated and the TV adaptation plans were scrapped. As the creator of the webcomic, I faced some criticism. But the editorial staff and the hospital defended me, so now I'm seen as a victim who was deceived. When Pete gets out, he'll find he has no place to go. He had been deceiving everyone around him. Now, he must face the consequences. Years later, after all that had happened, I had already left my parents' house, but that day I had stopped by my parents' house to run errands. Then the doorbell rang. Yes.
It's been a while, Rachel. I've come to pick you up.
Standing there was Pete, who had given up his act of being blind. I was relieved that I checked the monitor before opening the door, and without asking, he started explaining his situation. He was arrested over the issue with Julie, had borrowed money to repay the disability benefits, and his parents had moved because they were shunned by the neighbors and couldn't return to their own home.
You're all I have left, Rachel. Let's be happy together.
No thanks. I flatly rejected his plea. Pete's face showed he was hurt. His attitude, as if he were the victim, is irritating.
It's your fault all of this happened. Don't you think you should take responsibility?
I don't think so. I'm not responsible for any of this. It's all the result of your own actions, isn't it?
But
despite my rejection, Pete still tried to cling to me. Exasperated by his behavior, I was about to call the police.
What are you doing there?
Someone called out to him. Pete turned around in surprise.
You, the doctor.
There stood Dr. Watson with an angry expression, along with my parents.
Did you come to cling to her? That's quite pathetic.
Shut up. If you hadn't meddled in the first place.
I only did what was right, as a doctor and as a person.
While Pete glared, Dr. Watson responded calmly, albeit angrily. Watching them, I called the police.
Your selfishness has inconvenienced many people. If anyone should take responsibility, it's you.
Damn it.
Pete then tried to lash out at Dr. Watson.
Enough already.
However, he was stopped by my dad. Having learned karate in his youth, and since Pete hadn't been physically active due to pretending to be blind for years, my dad easily restrained him.
Damn it, let go.
Pete yelled, but my dad didn't let go, and soon the police I had called took him away.
Rachel, are you all right?
Yes, thank you. After Pete was gone, I answered him with a smile. With that, he smiled, relieved.
He sprinted over as soon as he saw that guy.
Really, I feel safe leaving her with him.
My parents watched us with amused smiles. Yes, in fact, we are engaged. After the incident with Pete, we found we shared a lot in common, and after his confession, we started dating.
Yes, I'll take care of her.
He nods in assurance.
We trust you.
My parents nod in agreement.
Well, now that we've finished moving the stuff, let's celebrate in our new home.
Actually, today I had come to help my parents move. It was intended as a measure against Pete, but it was a little too late. Well, I got to see my fiancé's impressive side, and next time Pete comes, he'll experience the despair of finding no one here. Let's go.
Right.
As I nod, he offers his hand. I take it with a smile. Some time has passed since then, and today is my second wedding.
Rachel, you look beautiful.
Thank you, Emily. Emily and her mother have come especially for the ceremony and are showering us with blessings. I couldn't become her mother, but just seeing her full smile is enough. Enjoy today.
Yeah. Congratulations on your marriage.
To her smile, I respond with a heartfelt one of my